Hello, I am Larry Weinberg, the Rum River Arts Center Director. This may be your first project or you've done several in the past. This is going to be a quick tour of RRAC and what we have to offer you as a participant, volunteer, and maybe even as a donor. Our mission at the Rum River Arts Center as a 501(c) nonprofit organization is to make a difference through art, being a welcoming and inspiring environment for artists of all ages. So you can explore your creativity through our classes, collaboration, and partnerships in the North Metro. Our history is that we began in 2009 as a small 500 square foot studio and have expanded to well over 5,000 square feet. We have many different areas that is like a maze here at the Rum River Arts Center. We're located in a historic milk factory along the Rum River in Anoka. We have several programs and partnerships that we do with kids, teens, adults, older adults. We have a new ceramic program that with wheel and hand-built pottery, where we have a whole community of potters that have started here. We have summer camps. We do programs with the libraries, with the school districts, and the local communities in the North Metro. We have several different mediums that we use here at the Art Center: drawing, acrylic painting, watercolor painting, mixed media, hand-built pottery, wheel throwing pottery, mosaics, polymer clay. We do stained glass and many more. One of the big programs we do at the Art Center is our summer art camps. And in 2021, we're expanding the program to include older adults with 5 or 6 new camps that are geared just to older adults. We have over 40 different programs for kids, and they can be either half day or all day. Since we're a nonprofit art center, we depend on you to help us run the organization. We need donations, we need volunteers. It all makes a difference. We are 95% funded by people like you by taking classes or making donations. Both monetary and in-kind donations are able to keep the Art Center thriving in any time. You can donate online. You can come in and visit us. All donations are tax deductible. Please enjoy the class.
Well, thank you guys and welcome. This is a fun project and a very simple project. It's a snowman or snow lady or a snow family, but it is fun, and I think you learn a little bit about watercolor and saving the white particularly, and I'll take you through the step-by-step way that I would go about doing this. Of course, there's always lots of ways to do stuff, but this is one way that you can do it. So we will focus on me working here so you can see my steps. Okay, and if you have questions, you can in the chat, right?
In the chat.
In the chat.
And
Judy Davis is here.
And if everybody, when she starts her instruction, you could click on the upper right-hand corner of your her thumbnail and pin video so that you can see her full size on your screen.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. So we'll get started. I'll talk a little bit about materials for you first. And yeah, so we have a lot of classes here at the Art Center, as you probably have found out by looking at the website. So tune in for lots of fun things and classes for adults as well as for kids. And we're just really happy to have you all here today. So, okay, so we're going to focus down on the paper now and we'll get started. Okay. All right, Tom, thank you. Awesome. Thanks, Tom.
You're welcome.
Okie dokie. So, this is one that I did. It was just sort of fun to create the little snowmen, and well, it's a little snow couple. I called them snowbirds. And so really we're going to be working around the white of the paper to create these. And so what I have for my materials, I have, well, let's see, I like to start out with an eraser and a pencil. So you're going to need that. I've got some water in a container, not a glass container, something that you can kind of got enough room to work with it, like a cottage cheese container. I got this. It's kind of dirty looking, but it's fine. And I have a brush. I have a round brush. This is a number 10 Princeton brush, excuse me, that I like to use, but they're all different kinds of watercolor brushes. If you're learning, this is a much bigger one, and this is by, this is Princeton as well, but it's much bigger, isn't it? And we have smaller brushes too. I like to have a piece of paper towel near me, and I have a palette. My palette is like this, and they're all different kinds of palettes that you can purchase, but this one, I like it. It's got lots of room inside to mix colors. And if you're new to watercolor, sounded like some of you were new to watercolor, these are two paints that are kind of squirted around here, and then they will keep. So the next time I want to use them, all I have to do is, get them wet a bit. And so I have this nice area in the center for my mixing. Some of you, where did I put that? Oh, excuse me. So this is a set that we sell art kits here at the Art Center, and this is, it's obviously been used, but this is a great little set because they're semi-moist and will keep nicely. These, again, you just get them wet, and then you still need a place to mix. So if you have a little plate or a plastic container lid or something like that, that will work just fine. So I like to keep my supplies near me. So I'm left-handed, and I keep my supplies to my left so that everything is easy to reach when I'm painting. So I have everything over here on my left side. I got my brushes here, so it's easier to work that way. So just a little heads up about that. The paper that I use is, I use a paper that's called 140-pound watercolor paper, and it's called cold press, C-O-L-D press. And that just means that it's got some tooth to the paper. I like Strathmore. You can purchase that at Michael's has it, Hobby Lobby has it. Another good one is the Blick. Dick Blick is online. You can get materials there. They have a good paper. Another really good one, if you want to spend a little more money, is called Arches. Some people pronounce it Arch, but it's spelled like an arch, A-R-C-H. And that's a really nice paper. So you want to have a good quality materials, and I think things will go a little bit better for you with watercolor. So anyway, I just think this is a fun little lesson. I'll show you a couple other ones that I did. This was just a little, I did this with some kids, and it was kind of fun. So you can get kind of fancy with these. I thought this was really cute. This came in the mail, and it's got the penguins with the coats on. So I thought, well, you might dress your snowman today. So that's sort of a fun idea. I don't know, hopefully you can see this, but it's another one that I did. It's actually, I've had it printed out in a card. So he's kind of cute. All right, so let's just get started. I think what I'll do really quickly, because the drawing part is something that we do when we're starting out. This is just a piece of paper, but I wanted to just show you, and I'll outline it in marker so you can kind of see when you're setting up. When you're doing a watercolor, we work with a pencil, and we work lightly. So we don't want to press too hard with the pencil, but enough so that you can see your image. Just, we're not going to shade anything in when we do this. We just get our basic plan, okay? So I think you could kind of go along with me and work along with me, but what I'm going to do is, I'm pretending this is my watercolor paper, but it's not, okay? Because I'm going to outline things with a marker. But I want you to kind of figure out, come up about a 1/4 inch from the bottom of your page and create like some land. And it doesn't have to be straight, okay? And I know you can't see that, but in a minute I'll go over it. when you start to draw your little snowman, I would kind of work over this line here that you made and create kind of a circle shape. So I'm going over it, and then I'm going to get the second snowball in. I was thinking about the process of making a snowman. It's kind of fun to think about rolling those big piles of snow. Now we have enough snow here in Minnesota that you could actually do that. We had a big, well, not a big snow the other day, but we sure got quite a bit of it. Anyway, so I'm going to outline this just so you can see what I did. So here's this line here for the land, and then I just sort of created these snowball shapes, okay? All right. So we want to get this part of it organized first. You can leave some room up at the top. I've got quite a bit of room, but you can leave some room up at the top. You know, you can change this up in any way you want to. You could make a hill in the background, you know, maybe something like that if you want. I don't know. You can create some fun things. Maybe you'll make some trees in the back, or maybe there's a tree in your picture. Maybe you have two of these snow people, like I did here. Okay, but the first part of this, excuse me, is to get this sort of drawn with your pencil. So, you know, you can give him a hat. And of course, now that I'm doing it in marker, you're going to see my marks, but I'm just going to give him a little top hat, which is kind of cute. Or you could get a little more fancy with it. Let's see here. That's a little cuter hat. Okay, and then he's got his eyes. So you're not going to fill anything in with your pencil. You're just going to do the outline part of it. Okay. I did these so you could see it. But anyway, and now maybe he has a scarf and you can create that. And then maybe there's stripes in it or whatever you decide to make. So have fun doing this part of it. If you want to make a coat on him, that's fine. Or you could just do the typical snowman that has the buttons for the coal. I did this with some kids the other day, and it was really fun. Okay, and then he's got some little arms here. And actually, you could do the arms, draw the arms later if you want to. So just take a few minutes to get your ideas down on paper and get it organized a bit. Okay, flip that over. So if you wanted to make a coat or something like that, you just would go like, create a little jacket or something like that for him. So again, with watercolor, we just do a little drawing, but something like this, we sort of have to spend a little time getting it organized. And then the painting part is really lots of fun. So much in watercolor is about layering. In other words, things that we make and then they dry and then we make another layer. So you can kind of think about that. And the fact that the snowman is going to be white because we use paper white for things that are white. We just save it. We don't paint on it and we don't really use white paint. He's kind of a funny looking snowman. Oh dear, he kind of looks sort of angry. Anyway, I'll fix him. Okay. So we leave paper white, and so when we paint this, we're going to paint around it, and then let the snowman be white, and then we'll do the other colors and decorations next. Okay, so I'm going to get my watercolor paper and get it organized and do a little sketch while you guys are sketching. Okay. All right. What was the last class that we did, Tom? I can't remember. We painted, oh, we did a snowy owl. That was really fun. And we have lots of classes for adults here. Right now we have a watercolor class that we're having. We have pottery, and there's a drawing class. That's fun. And if many of you are out of town, and so these kits can be sent to you, and that way you can work on it where you live. In our watercolor class, we have a lot of folks from different parts of our country, so that's kind of neat. All right, so I'm working on mine, and I'm just doing one little snowman here. I like these kneaded erasers. They work really well and help remove my pencil lines nicely without making a terrible mess. So they're very nice to have. That's a little bit cuter. Okay. Did anybody have a question, Tom, or are we all good?
Any questions from anybody, or are they doing okay?
One fine. Not going on. Doing the snowman.
Brendan wants to know if you'll be painting over the sketch.
Almost done.
Yes, we are. We're going to be painting. Definitely. This is just going to take us a couple minutes to get this somewhat organized so we know where we're going. Now, you can also do something free form. In other words, you could do a painting that does not involve any drawing. But for this one right now, I thought it would be a good idea to get a framework going. So that's why we're doing this. And yes, we will be painting really soon. I want to know where things are going to go when I paint this. So that helps me a little bit. And I'm just sort of sketching him, this little coat.
Hold that sketch up a little bit so. Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I know. We did poinsettias. That was fun. That was what we did. All right. Yeah, we are, but I think we did that in a Zoom class.
Oh, yes, you do.
Yeah, so I'd be really interested to know how you guys heard about these classes. I think that's so interesting that, that people are hearing about them all over.
You can do that.
There, that's looking kind of good. All right, I spent a little more time on this one. All right, and I think it might be cute to put well, you could make it a nighttime picture too. That would be sort of fun. And maybe there's the moon. I think I'll do that. I'll put a moon here. Okay. So one thing just to remember is that things that are darker or things that are dark, we can layer on top of something that's light. So, if I'm going to be using a very pale blue wash here in the background, and I know that the dark of the twigs for his little arms are going to be just fine to go over top. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. All right, are you guys ready to start painting? You have your drawing done? Could give me a thumbs up. Looks like Brenda is. Sharon. Okay. Well, let's get started. So if you have a brush, and I know that this is maybe new to some of you, so I'll just sort of talk about the steps.
Excuse me a minute.
Go ahead.
Hard for me to see the lines. Is it possible for her to also go over this with her marker on a different piece of paper, or even just hold up the original thing?
Okay, well, here's this and here's this. I pretty much drew this one. Okay, does that help? Okay, so while you're looking, I'll tell you what you're going to be doing first. We're going to mix up.
You talk, I hope.
Okay, oops. We're going to mix up a very pale wash of light blue. So we're using blue because it's a cool color. It's cool and it's cool. That was a joke. It's a color that we can use. It kind of helps us think about wintertime. So we're going to use the blue behind or around the snow people that you've drawn, including the coat and including the hat. We're going to work around it because most of the snowman is white. So again, I'm repeating myself, but when we work with watercolor, we save the white. So we use the white of the paper, just like if you were drawing something and you want something to be white, you just leave the white of the paper and don't put anything there if it's something that's white. Okay, is that all right? You think you guys are okay with the picture now?
A couple of head shakes and about 2 thumbs up.
Okay, so let's get started on that. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to start out on mine, and like I said, I drew this one. I'm going to mix up a very pale value of my blue. So I have blue here, and you see I'm just getting it wet. This one's called ultramarine blue. Oops, there's a little piece of fuzz in there. If you're getting it out of a container, like something like this, then you just get your brush wet and put the paint or put the brush in there and stir it up, okay, and get it out of there, get some onto your brush, I should say, okay, and then you can see how it is. It's kind of like the consistency of tea, maybe very light tea, if you dip the tea bag in and out quickly, okay, does that make sense? All right, so I'm using what I call a very pale wash, and if you're wondering, how are we doing on time? Am I talking too much here?
No, 125.
Okay, if you're wondering about what the color looks like, you can get a piece of scrap paper and see if you're happy with it. So that's called the value of this wash is very light. It's very light in value. Okay, so I'm going to start there, and I'm going to work my way around the snowman. I'm calling it a snowman, but this one's a snow lady. All right, so what I'm going to do first, now this is kind of an important little thing to do, is I'm going to use clean water, and I'm going to work in the background here with clean water and spread it around. Now, it doesn't need to be a big, huge puddle sitting on top of the paper, but just some water to soften this whole drawing. Okay, and I'm going to leave the bottom alone right now. I'm just going to do the background. Okay, now you can always go another value or shade darker if you want to after something dries. So I'm not worried if it's too light, and I might decide to make this a night sky. I might decide to do that. Okay, so here's my blue, and it's going to be applied to this paper in a very soft way you know, it's going to be soft and not have hard edges. If I paint on a dry surface, then it's going to be creating some harder edges. So that's why I like to get it damp first. And I can work from my shape and move that paint outward, okay? Or I can work from the outside edge and bring it in. So I want to leave some light areas because I'm thinking that it's a snowy day, maybe, or a snowy night. So I don't have to fill the whole thing in. Just make a nice soft wash here. But do you see how it's just moving nicely on the paper? Creates a nice flow. And then I can go up to the edge of my scarf and the other parts of this. And what it's doing is creating a nice background, but it's also helping us to see the snowman. Okay, I think it should focus. So this is called just a wash with the watercolor paint. There are lots of fun techniques in watercolor, lots of fun techniques to learn about. And in our classes, we go through those techniques pretty thoroughly, I would say. And we repeat things, not the same lesson, but we repeat the techniques in many different ways. So we kind of really start to get the hang of it and start to understand how we can work with this medium, this fun medium. Okay, so I'm working around my moon. It's not perfect, I know, it's okay. And I'm just moving this very light wash around, excuse me, around my snowman, snow lady. Okay, maybe I get a little bit darker down here if I want to. You know, I'm thinking that the land here is a snowy surface, so I'm having it not be flat. Okay. If you have too much paint, you can always rinse your brush, and I like to dry it on a paper towel, and you can remove some of the paint if you want to. Okay, you can always make it lighter. That's why we usually work light to dark, because it's harder to reestablish those light areas, whereas we can always go a bit darker if we need to. All right, so I'm happy with that. I want to let it dry a little bit, and you can let yours dry too. While it's drying, a lot of times we use a hair dryer actually, and while it's drying, I could kind of go inside here and work on some of the interior parts of my little snow lady. And I like to always rinse my brush and dry it a little bit on my paper towel. Make sure that, you know, and I also like to change the water a lot so that I'm working with clean water, and that way my colors will be more pure. Okay. All right. So I think I could go ahead and do the nose. Now for something like this, you know, I can always turn my paper a little bit to get into some of the nooks and crannies as I'm painting. And I can check, I've got orange. Now if you don't have orange, of course you can mix it with yellow and red. And then again, test it and make sure you like that particular color that you've mixed. And so I'm just going to go here with the tip of my brush and get this nose painted. I'm also anchoring my side of my hand a little bit on the dry surface here so that I can get a little bit of, so that I don't mess it up too much. Hopefully I'll be okay. And you can leave some little lights if you need to. And I went in with a pretty strong orange to do that little nose. Okay. So think about the colors that you want to use. You can, I would say to make the eyes and the mouth dark, but think about the colors you want to use for the coat or the hat or whatever the parts are that you're working on. I think I could go ahead, starting to get dry. It's nice, it's pretty dry in this room, so I should be able to move ahead pretty quickly here, I think. Give it a minute. So we want to make sure that when we're painting things that we have that dry time. And if I were to paint this scarf on this edge here, while this is wet, we know that those colors will want to join each other or bleed together. So I don't really want that to happen. Sometimes we want that to happen, so we purposely let colors mix right on the paper, which is a lovely thing to do. However, this time I don't really want that to happen. Okay. All right. So I think I'll go ahead and make my scarf. And again, you can choose whatever color you want. I think I'll just go with that orange, just like I did on my other one. So I'm mixing together some orange, and I could think about making stripes or making whatever I want. If it's going to be yellow and, or excuse me, orange and white stripe, then I can do that just by simply kind of working my way here with some lines, or you can fill the whole thing in. It's really up to you. It's kind of fun to do this part. And you know, if you make a mistake, that's totally okay. So I could turn this into a more solid scarf if I need to, because if I have a little trouble, that's okay.
It's just a happy little scarf.
It's a happy, cheerful
There
scarf.
you go.
Maybe I should be doing the, well, what are the two teams that are going to go now to the Super Bowl?
I don't,
We could combine. No, I'm just kidding.
unless it's NASCAR, I don't follow sports.
Oh, it was kind of fun to watch those games yesterday. Okay, so I just did stripes on mine with the orange, and I left the white. Okay, I know this part here is dry because I didn't paint there, so I know I could actually make some fringe for the scarf. And that's just using the tip of the brush really to draw with. And you just get it loaded up so that it's right on the tip of it. And then you can do some nice marks with that. Okay. It's still a little bit wet. So I'll go over here. Well, we do have sunshine here today, but it's awful cold, right? What did we say it was about this morning? Maybe 9?
It was 9, 18 right now.
Yeah, so that's cold, but when we have the sun shining, it just really helps a lot, I would say. These are fun to do on cards. So you can purchase, in fact, I got mine at Michael's, but you can purchase these very nice quality blank watercolor paper cards, and they come with envelopes. So you can make cards, you know, for gifts or whatever you want with those. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. Okay, so this is dry over here, so I can kind of work on this scarf a little bit. And I'm just touching it with my finger, and I'm like, okay, it's fine. Okay, this is good. So a lot of times we work sort of general to specific with watercolor. We create these washes and then we do our details last. This is sort of a little more illustrative, I would say, and we're getting into some details pretty quickly. Other times we work in a different way. And I think that's one of the things I really like about watercolors. There's so many different ways to make a painting. And you can learn a lot of different ways. It's good to play and practice a bit. So I guess that's okay. I'm going to wait a minute to do that. All right. I'm rinsing off my brush and then I think I'll go up here and do the hat and then I'll do the coat. So I'm going to go with the red, I think, or the pink. I have some pink here. It's in my paint set. So as I said, you can purchase from the Art Center really nice sets that will include this Yarka paint set along with some paper and brushes. So a lot of people have been doing that. And Larry he's the director of the Art Center, they just go ahead and send it right out to you. So that's kind of cool. So I'm going to leave this part of the hat is going to be a white furry hat. So I'm just going to leave that alone and I'm going to paint the top part here. So working into that furry area. So I'm making some bit squiggly marks with my brush and then I'm pushing it or moving it towards me, the brush towards me to kind of indicate the furry feeling of that top part of the hat. And when I get here, that's the same thing. So I'm working into this area with my brush to kind of create that fuzzy little pom-pom there. Now again, just to repeat this, but if you worked too lightly, remember once it dries, you want to let it dry, but then you can get a little bit of red there. If it's too light, you can always go back once it's dry and add another layer. Okay, that's kind of cute. All right, so I think I can tackle the coat. And again, you could work lightly and then go back and add some darker areas. Just going to work my way, and we go around the buttons because I'm going to have those a different color. I'm just working in here with a pretty good amount of paint on my brush. We don't typically outline things with watercolor, just so you know, because what happens with that oftentimes is that it starts to dry and then you get what we call a hard edge. And sometimes you might want an outline, but most of the time we sort of work from the outside in, or excuse me, from the inside out to the edge, or we work kind of quickly if we're along an edge. So good watercolor brushes, they come to a point at the end and you can get a good round one and it'll take you pretty far. You can do a lot with one like that. I probably should be switching to a smaller brush. But in fact, I might do that. How are we in time, Tom?
20 minutes.
We have 20 minutes. Tom and I like to give you all a chance to show your creation when we're done. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. It's always kind of fun to see what people come up with. Now you can see when I get this pink around the scarf where I've left the white. It's just going to help that scarf to pop out. So we'll really be able to see it. A lot of times we think about the idea of working light against dark or dark against light, or you think about certain colors that when they're placed next to each other, they sort of pop. I'm sure I'm not talking too much and I make a mistake. I made a mistake the other day because we were doing something and I talking way too much and I made a little error, but we were able to fix it. So here I am again at this fuzzy edging on her coat. So I'm kind of working my way around that and then moving the paint up into the existing wash. Okay. Hopefully you guys are all doing well and having fun. That's the whole idea here, just to have fun and relax a little bit. If your paint gets too dry, or too, your brush kind of gets dried out a little bit, just dip it back in the water and get some more paint. And you should be good to go. Oops. There. Okay, good. I think I missed a spot. Let's get right here. So you want to think about, where am I painting that, and making sure that things are dry before you go to the next area. Something like this. There we go. Okay. That's pretty good. So once it dries, I could add some shadows and get a little darker here and there if I need to. Okay. I'm going to go ahead now and do his eyes, or her eyes. And I had another brush. Yeah, hold it up a bit. And then we'll get the rest of it finished up. Doesn't take too long.
Ooh, somebody bought a new brush.
Yeah, but look at it. I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I'll probably not use that one. I'm going to go back to this one. What do you think? Okay, so for the eyes, well, maybe let's skip the eyes for a second and get the blue, the bottom part done. So you could use the same color that you used here and create a bit of ground. You could also mix a tiny bit of your dark with it to get a nice gray. If you have dark, like a black, that would work. Or you could mix some orange with, I'll show you, I mixed a little bit of orange with my blue, which gives me a nice gray for my shadows. So that's probably your best bet. Okay, so I'm going to think about, again, I'm going to get this area wet. Now I know that it would be a little bit of a shadow underneath the snowman. A little bit of a shadow. So I want to get this damp, get my paper damp first, and think about creating a little bit of that shadow. When you put the water on the paper, just let it soak in to the paper first before you start. Don't leave a big puddle sitting on top. Just give it a sec, and then it'll get absorbed into the paper. So I'm going to work around the bottom here and kind of create a bit of a shadow. Okay. We don't really want to have gray snow, but have to somehow create a bit of a shadow here. So I'm going back in now with some blue into this wash. And then I can sort of just bring it down a little bit and think about the snow down here. Now you could add lots of other things into this painting. You could have a little creature here. Maybe there's a little dog or a squirrel or something like that. I don't know. Maybe you could use your imagination and create something. But all I did was add a very little bit of blue mixed with orange here to create this shadow. Okay. And if you need it to be a bit darker, then just go in with a little more blue and pop it just kind of right around here at the bottom of the snowman. Okay. There. It's just kind of a little quick wash. Okay. I would do the same thing if I have some of the white here that's showing, and as long as your little jacket is dry, you can add a little, excuse me, a little bit of shadow here, but keep it really, really light if you want to. Just a little bit of very pale wash here and there. Okay. So since I've got this blue and a little bit of gray on my palette here, I'm going to go up to the fuzzy part of the hat and work up there a little. And so again, I'm just making a bit of shadow with it using the tip of my brush. And you can see I'm doing a bit of a scribbly mark here, just a little bit to give it a little shadow. And you don't have to do it gray, it could be blue, that's fine, but just to give it a little three-dimensional quality is good. If you get too much paint on there, then just rinse your brush off and pull it out. And that will help. That's what I just did. Okay. I'm going up here to the little pom-pom and kind of doing some little marks too with the darker blue-gray color here. Just to give it a little texture. It's kind of cute. I'm going to do the same thing with the little fuzzy area down here. Just a little bit. My little coat is a little bit wet, so I got to be careful over there, but we're good. Okay. Good. I'm going to wait for that to dry before I do the buttons. I think I can go ahead and do the little twigs for the arms. And I'm going to find a brown. If you have a brown in your paint set, that would work. Right? And again, this time I'm going to mix that color up and make sure that it's flowing nicely with my brush. And oops, I can sort of test it, see if I'm happy with what's happening. And I'm going to do it again using the tip to draw with. So as long as this area is dry, I can do that. And another interesting thing to think about is if you've lost your drawing that you did, as long as the wash underneath is dry, you can take your pencil and draw stuff if you need to, okay? So I could certainly draw the little twig, but I know where mine's got to go. But again, you could do that. I've got my hand anchored on the table so that I get a nice clean line. And then you can create some little twig. I guess they're just twigs, right? That we would always go find the twigs, actually. We'd send somebody to go find them. Do you remember that, Tom?
Yeah.
I remember running in the house and
Tell the
telling,
neighbors if you don't have a tree.
yeah. And we would always go run in, somebody, you know, whoever's house you were at, were making the snowman, we would go running in and get a carrot. It was fun. There, that's kind of cute. All right. All right, so I'm gonna get these little eyes done. And if you have black, you could certainly use the black. No worries about that. Or you could mix a dark with green and red and throw in a little blue, right?
Yeah. Green, red, and blue would give you a pretty dark.
Pretty nice dark. But I happen to have black here, so I'm just going to go for it with the black. I'm going to get the little eyes now. Again, these are all a lot of very little detail work that we're doing today, isn't it? We don't always do that. We've been doing these Zoom classes since March, and it's been a lot of fun. We've done all different kinds of things, and you guys can go back into the Art Center website, and I think you just look and it's got recorded classes, right, Tom?
Yes.
I think. And then you can see some of the ones that we've done and you can view them, which is kind of fun. I'm not quite sure what's on there right now, but you can certainly take a peek and see if there's something. Oops, that has very funny little eyes, but it's okay. Oh dear, it's hard to make a masterpiece when you're talking so much.
Little eye.
Yeah, she's cute. Or maybe they're too close together or something. Oh dear, you have to have a bit of a sense of humor, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. What did I miss? What did I forget here? It's kind of cute. Yeah, so, oh, I know, the fringe on the, right here. So underneath here is the light blue, so we know that the orange will cover that because it's darker. So I can paint that right over top of the dry surface, which is something just to remember about that. And if you want things to be darker in certain places, you can certainly go back with a darker value. That just means you've got more pigment on your brush and add some shadows. Okay, so if I wanted this to be more of a nighttime scene, I'll just show you real quick what you could do if you wanted to. And then we'll take a minute and everybody can show their work. But I would just get darker over top of this initial wash. And that's the same process. I can dampen, again, my surface. I don't want to get too close to that red jacket because it's still pretty wet. But I could go in with a darker value of my blue and sort of work my way around to get this whole background darker, which might be kind of fun. Just an idea. So these little projects sort of lend themselves to all kinds of different creative ideas. So I'm just going over that wash and getting it darker. Okay. And I'm working just on one side at a time so that I can get it covered, and I know I can always go back here and do this other side. a little bit later. Okay. And that will also make this little pom-pom pop a little bit more, won't it?
Yes. Look, that's a really nice blue.
Yeah, I like this blue. This is from the Yarka set, which is kind of nice. So I hope you guys really had fun today and relaxed and just enjoyed it. And hopefully we'll see y'all again, and maybe you'll take another class or find something that's interesting. There's also art history classes, which are neat, right, Tom?
Yeah, we have the art history class, once a month on Fridays?
Yeah, and that's fun too. Something called Coffee and Chat. You can check that out. All right. Yeah, so now I've got a little darker background, which changes it up quite a bit. I want to get rid of that hard edge there. Okay. Now, another fun thing you could quick do if you want to, is when you're doing a background like this, you know, you can also leave some areas, and I think I mentioned that before, but you could leave some areas white in the sky to sort of give you the feeling of snow. And yet one more thing, and then I'll stop talking, is the idea of sprinkling a bit of salt into the background. So it also gives a really nice texture that would give you the feeling of a bit of snow. Okay. All right, I'm just going to finish this up, and we'll have Tom call on you guys if you want to share what you've done today. That would be so cool. We'd love to see.